Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So, I know, bit of a different setup today. I finally decked out my iPad a few months back, cause, well, you know how it is, you get a bunch of stickers and then you don't actually use them because you're afraid of this shit happening, like the fucking heat damage that I have on these stickers up here. But the reason for this setup today is that I'm getting back into the swing of creative things in YouTubing after moving, which went very well. Thank you to all those who wished me a happy move, I appreciate it. But I wanted to do something a little simpler today. I don't want to do anything too intense like my ABCs of Transformers series or like plot summary videos. I want to do something that's really easy for me to do. So I thought it might be interesting because this is very much the theme of the channel. Y'all know how much of a Transformers freaking nerd I am. And y'all know that I love to draw. I am an artist. I'm a creative. I love creating. So I thought it might be really cool to show y'all what exactly my journey with drawing Transformers has been. I first started drawing Transformers all the way back in 2019. Definitely not as long as some people in the fan base. There's like been other people who have been in the fan base for like at least a decade by this point, who are amazingly talented artists and have actually worked on like some official stuff. For example, you have Saren Stone and Sidvin Blue, all amazingly talented Transformers creatives and artists, which I highly look up to and is a big inspiration for my art today, other than some of the official art and my other influences artistically over the years. What I would give to make a Transformers comic cover art someday. Oh, someday. I'm gonna get there. So I thought it might be interesting to show y'all some really old Transformers art that's really not great, but you know what? We gotta start somewhere. So let's get right into it. So starting off real fucking strong out of the bat here. This was some of the first kind of Transformers fan art that I ever did, again, back in 2019 when I first started drawing Transformers. At this point, I'd already been like actually drawing for a few years. I started actually my artistic journey in 2014. And back then, like pre-Transformers era me, what I mostly drew was, well, as you can tell by the mouse pad here, lots of anime, so much anime. I was a giant weeb back in the day until I became a Transformers fan. And you can definitely see a lot of those influences in my early art because it's all a bunch of twinky looking fucking skinny ass men. And you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's kind of the style of anime, but when you're actually trying to diversify your art, like I eventually kind of got into, you get shit that looks like this, which it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Things get better. And as you can hopefully tell, this is Transformers Prime Starscream. When I made these sketches, I think I had either just started or just finished Transformers Prime or was in the process of watching, whatever. But Transformers Prime, like it was for so many Transformers fans nowadays, was a huge starting point for me and a huge inspiration point. So as I was saying, this is meant to be Transformers Prime Starscream, and something I did a lot when I first started drawing Transformers was I would draw Human Formers art. And just a real brief overview of what Human Formers is. Human Formers is the fandom concept where you turn Transformers characters human. A lot of people like to make their own like unique designs for it, e.g. kind of like what I was doing here. I still do Human Formers art to this day. It's really, really fun to do and like play around with like design aspects and everything. But I definitely draw so much more mecha than I used to. And I've gotten a lot more confident with drawing mecha, unlike what I was here. At this point, I thought I was never going to learn how to draw mecha because I'm like, this is too fucking difficult. Look at all those fucking shapes. So a lot of my early art is Human Formers art, which we will get onto more of that. There is literally so much from this period that is just Human Formers, Human Formers, Human Formers. The one thing I still really like about these sketches is this particular rough draft here, which I think actually this was meant to be a cosplay like rough draft, because this is back around when I also cosplayed more, when TikTok was really taking off. So I really wanted to get like a really cool TFP Starscream fit, again, that kind of looks like this. I still think this actually looks really good, and I would love to like expand on this a little more in the future and maybe even make this. It would be a really big thing. I'd have to actually learn how to sew, but that one is, I still quite like that. The Papa Red is really nice. This is another sketch page, as you can tell, with Mr. Buckethead himself looking like a... The fuck does he even look like? That is not Megatron. Motherfucking anime twink. I think this was also another like kind of conceptual planning page for cosplay stuff. I wanted to like kind of do a more like Code Geass style military outfit. Again, I was a weeb. But yeah, not too much here other than fucking really bad anime art. Oh, look at that. We have our first mecha. Oh my god. Yeah, so this was Rodimus. Again, I had just started reading More Than Meets the Eye, and I became absolutely obsessed with Rodimus. I still am to this day. He is one of my favorite characters across like any media ever. Yeah, and honestly, for my skill at the time, this was not a super bad piece. This is actually really good, but I remember that this like sketch with the line art took me so freaking long to do. This took me forever. Whereas nowadays, if I like drew something like this again, I might be able to do it in like half an hour, maybe less. So yeah, once again, we have improved. I still quite like this piece though. It's cute. I think it's cute. This, oh my god. This is a doodle sketch, whatever the fuck it is, of my original Transformers OC, which is on the next page here. This is Nucleus. She was my very first TFOC slash like self-insert, and oh my god. It looks really, really bad. I know. Trust me. I made a TFOC just recently, finished finalizing her design, and it looks so much better than whatever the fuck this is. Again, this is before I actually learned how to like decently draw mecha, so forgive me for this. But yeah, this is Nucleus. She was kind of meant to be like this weird organic mechanic like hybrid transformer thing. I think she was in and around the size of a human to mimic, again, like organic matter more, and she was meant to be able to mimic a lot of like organic things or even forms. She could become like look like a human or something. It's a little rough because I don't remember all the fucking details because this was so far back, but yeah, that was my original TFOC, and I definitely am glad to admit that we got so much better from here. Transformer character design is still not one of my strong suits, but I am definitely can say I've at least improved. This is a world design that I actually still really love. I still actually use this particular design. He's just a little more elevated now in my current style. He's got the little weird tripod legs, and he's got only 3 fingies because he's an Empurata. He's got the optic eye and the funky audios. I have kept some of this, and then I've like kind of changed certain bits and aspects. Oh my god, what? Don't look at this. What? No, I didn't draw abs. No, what? Human form, Cyclonus, Drift, Deadlock. I have never been able to draw Drift like this again. I'm actually really sad because I still really love this sketch to this day, but I've never been able to draw him like that again. That being said, my Drift design has just recently like undergone some changes because again, I want to actually make him look old and not like a twink all the time. Okay, so this is Megop. That's Orion Pax and Megatron. This is like their pre-war versions from like the IDW comics. And this, as you can probably tell, is based on, oh god, what's the song name? It's from The Greatest Showman. Rewrite the Stars, that's it. This was kind of a redraw of one of it. I was like, oh my god, and what if, oh my god, because they're talking about it's forbidden, their love is forbidden, and oh my god, what if we rewrite the stars? Just silly Megop shit. As you can see, this is also where the Megop obsession kind of started. Funny story, I did not used to be a huge Megop shipper back in the day. Like, that didn't start until like late 2019, maybe early 2020. So a lot of my early shit does not have a lot of Megop content because I just wasn't into it back then, and now that's kind of all I am. That's become my personality, is fucking Megop. So yeah, this was the start of an obsession. I do have Rewrite the Stars on my Megop playlist, by the way. IDW Orion, a more finalized look. I think he kind of still looks like this. I actually quite like what I did with the jacket here. This was also the first like Transformers piece that I ever did with cell shading. I didn't actually use to cell shade back in the day. What I did instead was go over everything digitally with like a soft airbrush to the point where you could barely tell something is like shaded because I used to airbrush so lightly. I don't even remember where that came from. I just shaded like that. So I'm very glad that I did eventually get into harsher shading, except now it's a problem nowadays because all I do is cell shade, and I really hate painting. Because it's really hard to guess what the shadows are like if I don't cell shade. It's become a little bit of a crutch and a little bit of a problem, but this is still one of my like better pieces from this time. This, as well as I think this piece and a few of the other sketches that I showed, are from 2020, which I think you can see on the date here. This is from 2020, as well as some of these other pieces. Now 2020, as it was for many people back then, was a really fucking rough year for me, so I didn't draw a shit ton during 2020. So I have actually very little even Transformers art or any art at all from this time period, but a lot of, again, like these traditional sketches were all I could really like get out of my system at that point in time, because this is all I had the energy to do because I was so severely depressed and just going through like a generally toxic like life situations at that point in time. But in and around December of 2020 was when I really started getting back into art to try and distract myself from things that were going on in my life, and also to try and like reignite my passion, because even though I didn't draw much during 2020, I do really genuinely love art so much. So being able to kind of like take this power back from what I was going through and being able to get back into my art was a really, really helpful thing for me back then, which means I drew a lot more Transformers starting in around this period. So yeah, 9th of December 2020. This is a Transformers Prime Orion design. I still actually kind of like his little fit here. I also like well, in general, I just love giving characters ponytails. I have to actually stop myself from giving like Human Formers designs ponytails, which y'all will see later. I think I've also made like a TikTok video on it. It's kind of my design crutch that I just love to do. I love men with long hair. But yeah, this is like an older Orion design. You can kind of see my anatomy is getting a little bit more diverse. It's not quite as flat as it used to look back when I like only drew like anime, really. I'm starting to branch out a little more in the face shape. This is kind of starting to look a little more square. The form is also starting to look a little more muscular. But yeah, this is where I really like actually started like practicing and studying like the human form and even like mecha, as you'll see later on. So my art starts to take like a dramatic shift pretty quickly. I also really want to redesign my TFP Orion design. While I do still like a lot of aspects from this, e.g. kind of the cute little ponytail and this like fit, I'd definitely like actually make him look like at least a young adult in this, because I think probably pre-war TFP Orion and Megatronus were like kind of young adults, not quite full adults probably at that point in time, if we had to put like a human instance of age upon them. But yeah, he wouldn't look this young anymore. He looks like he's almost like a teenager or something, or like only just turned 18. More Human Formers because I couldn't fucking draw Mecha. This is Ultra Magnus and Rodimus from More Than Meets the Eye. Also one of the first like more rendered pieces that I actually did back then. I was also experimenting with the line art, which is why it's so like very thick in some places. Also, apologies if the quality is really crap. I had to grab some of these from Instagram because I don't have them on any of like my Google Drives right now or anything. I think they're all, a majority of these older pieces are all on like hard drives. But as you can see, I was also trying out more with like actual backgrounds, and while it's simple, it's still like nice. You can kind of see I played around with like composition a little bit, putting things closer to the camera and a little further away. Oh, so this piece is actually was something I made for an old friend of mine. We kind of had this little AU that we talked about together, where it was of course Phantom of the Opera, if you couldn't tell. I don't know if you'd actually be able to tell because I don't think I drew this super well, but this is meant to be Christine Daae's dress in the 2004 Phantom film, and we put Rung in Christine's place in this AU, and of course Tarn is the Phantom, and just silly fandom stuff, really. And I still do silly fandom stuff. I love it. Be cringe, be free. God, ooh. Okay. So, thing you need to know about me. I'm absolutely obsessed with Beauty and the Beast. I love Beauty and the Beast. If you go back to the very first video on this channel, it was a drawing of Transformers Prime, Orion, and Megatron in Beauty and the Beast. And I have been doing that since 2021. Beauty and the Beast is like my favorite film of all time. I love it so dearly. So of course, no matter the fandom I'm in, I always find a way to do some kind of crossover between Beauty and the Beast and some kind of ship in whatever fandom I'm in. And for Transformers, it's Megop, of course. As you can see, this is also like an early Orion design, again, before I really know how to draw Mecha, so oh boy, Megatron's looking a little rough and worse for wear. Robots in clothes, oh my gosh. I have actually redrawn this particular piece this year, except I actually made them Mecha, and it looks so much better this year. I actually really love to see like my artistic progress throughout the years, so I'm very happy that, wow, I actually have proof that things have have improved, I guess. So this was my very first commission that I ever got. This was back when I had first opened up commissions, like ever. I had been meaning to like become a commission artist for like a few years at this point, but I never really had the fan base for it. I didn't have like any social media accounts until I like turned 18, so I kind of had to build my following from there. But this was my very first Transformers commission. This was actually for a mutual of mine who I'm still mutuals with today, with their character. I don't remember what this character is called. I just keep calling her Ladybug, but it's with Transformers Prime Bumblebee and their character. And yeah, it's not too bad. For what my skill was at the time, this is okay. And wow, I actually drew like Mecha this time. Amazing. Honestly, for what my skill was with Mecha at this time, this isn't that bad. But as you can see with the proportions on like the arms, especially here on this Ladybug character, it looks kind of off in some places, very like doll-like, and I definitely improved massively from this point onward. Oh, hello, sir. Okay, so this is, as you can see, my Transformers Prime Megatron human former design, and I actually still like a lot of aspects of this design. I love this loincloth here. I've been working on like reworking this particular design, except trying to keep a lot of these like elements of like the armor and stuff. Again, I really love this like pelvis kind of thing here, and again the loincloth. I would change these shoulders up probably a lot more because this looks a little awkward. I kind of really love these little like platform boots with their freaking sharp angles. I really like that. And I remember being so proud of this design at the time, and honestly, for what my skill was, this is like pretty freaking good. Human former Cyclonus, this was actually the piece that made me study like back muscles and how back muscles work on somebody who has a more like fit build and everything, or even I looked like at a lot of like bodybuilder like images, you know, of the overly muscular people, because sometimes you need to look at like the overly exaggerated shit in order to like really understand what the basic like shapes are of like muscles and everything, and how you would like shade that and everything, which as you can see here, it was an attempt. I wouldn't call this perfect, but it was definitely a start. And again, I was just practicing more with proportions, shapes, and just bettering my art really. I also really love the rainbow flames still to this day. I think that those look really cool. Here we go. Okay, so this I think is like, this is one of those pieces that I constantly look back on and I'm like, oh my god, it's not good looking anymore, but at the time I was so proud of this piece because I was like, wow, I made this. I actually drew a full body mecha. It was so hard to draw. So this is based off a panel, I think in More Than Meets the Eye. Rodimus is doing like this really twinky looking pose. I'll put it on the screen here. It's so iconic. But again, you can see that my shapes are very like inconsistent and the proportions are kind of weird. This is especially evident on like the shoulder pieces. Like this shoulder piece looks completely different from this shoulder piece. This is like sharp and angled, and then this is like round and bulbous. It's really freaking funky looking, but it was a start. And again, I have improved so much from this. This is actually the piece I always like to go back to, simply because you really can see like the amateur nature of like all the proportions and shapes here versus what my like proportions and shapes are now when I draw mecha, which honestly I think how I currently draw mecha is still like amateur in a lot of ways, but just looking back on this makes me feel a little better as to what my progress is now. This was a commission. It was a little Starscream Pride piece with the gender fluid and the lesbian flag. We love that for him. I used to do highlights like this so much in like 2021. I just had to make things look overly shiny to the point where your eyes hurt and you can barely tell what the piece even looks like. It looks so freaking bad, and I'm really glad that I kind of grew out of this in some ways with like the very heavy airbrushing. You can tell I was really just guessing where the light was hitting at this point because I didn't quite know how to render metal all that well yet. Because again, like I stated earlier in this video, what I would do is I would just like kind of shade and highlight everything with a soft airbrush, and that was kind of my go-to, which as you can see on these strokes here, it was either done with a soft airbrush or it was done with the G pen, and then I like overly blurred these points, but it doesn't really make sense with wherever the light is hitting in this piece. I think it's meant to be coming up from here as to what I can see on the gradients of this background. But yeah, it kind of just doesn't make sense. But I am happy that my commissioner liked it at the time. Oh, now this is actually a piece I'm still really proud of. Again, even though it's still amateur in a lot of ways, I think like the overall composition of this piece really brings it together. I also really love the colors that I used for the background. It just looks so freaking nice and pretty. This was actually the first piece that started me doing more work with like Transformers like fandom projects. This was for a Rodimus and Cheetor like collage little event that another artist I used to follow was doing, and me and a few other artists like did this. But I thought that doing something like this would be a really good way to like kind of step my foot in the water, I guess, get me to draw like more like intense pieces like this and actually get me out there into the fandom spaces in spite of my social anxiety. I've always had really bad anxiety issues for as long as I can remember. So doing like projects like this and actually starting my journey with fandom projects and eventually getting into zines was a really big step for me at the time. And I'm still really proud of myself for putting myself out there to this day. And nowadays I just apply for zines like it's nothing, because now it's just my normal. I love participating in zines. I love being able to be surrounded by creatives who love things like I do and love the specific things that I'm making the zines for, etc, etc. You will definitely see more of my zine pieces as we move forward. But yeah, I still quite like this piece. I tried to do like a bit of perspective. I think it could be improved upon, and again, the highlights are insane. But this was really good for what my skill set was at the time. I still really quite love this piece. More Human Formers. This was a TFA shockwave design that I did, which actually I just recently redrew this design, which you will see later. More commissions. This I think was for the same person who got the Ladybug Bumblebee piece. I actually really loved this like character's design. This character's design was like so unique and cool. And then with Dinobot, who's one of my favorite Transformers ever. I freaking love Dinobot. Something I also used to do in my 2021 era like art is these kind of desaturated looking colors. My art, while you can tell it's still got some color to it, it's much more desaturated than what my work eventually became and what it is now. I love having pieces that have lots of color, but as you can, I think it's especially evident on this piece actually, because even the background, I thought this used to look super saturated, but looking at it now compared to the piece that I will compare this piece to later, so much more saturated my art is now. Oh, so I remember this piece. This was one of my favorite pieces that I made back in 2021, and this was a really big piece for me because it was kind of one of those pieces where I looked at it and I was like, wow, I've just come so far with my art, and I'm just genuinely so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself and where my art was then versus what it is now. I still think like the highlights actually here are really cool. There's like a particular way that I gradiented like the shading and everything that makes everything look very sleek and shiny. It's very difficult to try and make this particular look. I'm still working on making shit look like this more often. But the lyrics here are from my top tier, my absolute #1 Megop song, which is Shallows by Daughter. If you have never listened to Shallows by Daughter, literally go listen to it right now, I beg of you. It is my #1 Megop song, and the visual that I've always had in my mind when listening to this song is Optimus and Megatron just laying in a field of spark flowers, just looking up at the sky and just contemplating everything that they have been through and the things that they have done. That's just like the very specific image, so I had to draw it back then. I would actually really love to redraw this piece and do a little more with like the background and everything, maybe expand upon it, so on and so forth. But yeah, this piece was a really big stepping stone for me, and I still like it. I don't think it's one of my best pieces, but I still quite like this piece and what it represented to me at the time. Okay, so this is a very important piece actually. So this was the very first Pride Megop piece that I did. This was actually the start of a series that I have done since 2021, which is basically a Pride themed Megop doodle every Pride month. I always try to do some kind of Megop piece, Pride themed Megop piece for Pride month, and this is where it all started, is this shitty little fucking doodle that looks really bad. What the fuck is going on with Megatron's helm? Fun fact, I still use these same flags for Megatron and Optimus to this day. These are based off of headcanons that I've had for a very long time, which I think I outlined in a previous video. I will link it here. But yeah, this was the very start of this little series that I do. Again, I will show you the other Pride pieces a little later. Human Former's IDW Megatron. This design I actually recently redesigned. He looks a fair bit different from what this originally was. This was a piece slash pieces, because there's another version that I made for a really freaking good fan fiction on Archive of Our Own. It is by one of my favorite Transformers authors ever, Ostolot, who also wrote my favorite fan fiction slash story literally ever, Victory Condition. Highly recommend you go check it out. It's so freaking good. But this particular piece is based on, oh god, what is it called? Someone You Might Have Been, I believe, is the title of the fic. And this is a particular scene towards the end of it. I think it's only like 4K. It's a really, really short little one shot. And I just had to draw something for it. I actually would really love to redraw this, because in that particular scene that I've illustrated here, it's actually a little different than what I did here. But I was decently proud of this at the time. I think what I did with the background or tried to do isn't too bad, but I would definitely change a lot of aspects of what this is now. This was a commission from one of my mutuals, Sammy. They wanted Rat Trap in a little Minecraft creeper hoodie. It's actually really cute. I think he actually still has this as his profile picture, which is just, oh god, every time somebody uses like a piece of my art as their profile pic, I'm like, oh my god, thank you, oh my god. But yeah, I thought this piece was really cute at the time. It's still kind of a cute concept. I don't really like the highlights on it. Again, I'm still kind of using that like soft airbrush and like weird overly blurred cell shading to like make up for the fact that I don't actually know how to highlight. We're also getting to the tail end of 2021, which is when my style starts to change like massively, drastically. I start to draw completely different at the very tail end of 2021 because at the time I was reading the IDW 2 comics, which if you haven't seen the art in the IDW 2 comics, it is literally so gorgeous. I believe the primary artist on the first few comics for the IDW 2 run was Anna Malkova, I believe. I'll put it here on screen to show y'all, but their style is like so beautiful. The line art is a lot thicker and their style is a lot more like, I don't quite know how to describe it, just kind of exaggerated and stylized. They somehow make these like Transformer robot characters look so diverse and beautiful, and their colors are just so rich and gorgeous. And I really, really love how they drew like faces especially, so I started taking a lot of that and putting that into my own style, which is kind of how it became what it is today. So you will start to see that dramatic shift very, very soon coming up. Okay, so this is the first fully rendered piece where my art starts to take, again, like I said, that dramatic shift. My line art has started to become a little thicker in places, as you can see here. Along the back here, it's kind of outlined. His hair is a little more like accentuated by the line art in some places. The face shape has also, again, it's kind of got a stronger jawline again. The muscles are a little more defined. I don't draw abs often, and somebody pointed out back when I first posted this that he should have an extra set of abs, and I was like, oh shit, he should have an extra set of abs. So his abs aren't quite proportionate, but I tried. Oh, this is Human Former's Rodimus, by the way. I don't think I said that. He's got his sick freaking tattoo sleeve that he has in the comics, because I love that tattoo sleeve. Oh, what I would give for that tattoo sleeve, and yet I also don't want to get a tattoo sleeve because I want to put other tattoos there. 5-minute sketch challenge with Transformers characters. At the time, I was like super not proud of this. I was like, God, this looks like shit, whereas everyone else draws so much in 5 minutes and it's so good, whereas the whole point of the challenge is, you know, you're supposed to draw it really freaking quickly. It's not meant to look good. Which honestly, for my skill set at the time, I did really well. I think they're all decently like recognizable. Like, I think even if I didn't have the names here, you'd still be able to kind of tell who these characters are. Again, you see that my style has kind of dramatically shifted. The face looks a lot stronger. The proportions are getting much stronger as well. The shape work. I'm still highlighting way too much. I think the shading as well isn't quite accurate. As you can see, like with the legs here, it's a little too funky because it doesn't make sense with what's happening here with the shadows here and then with what's happening with the legs here. This piece was actually, I think, another draw this in your style piece for the artist Scribbles over on Instagram and other places, who has also been one of my biggest inspirations for like drawing Transformers and just art in general. Their style is, oh my god, it is to die for. Their style, it is so beautifully cartoony and stylized. I love it so much. And of course, they draw a shit ton of Megop content. Okay, so y'all remember this piece? Y'all remember this piece? Because on this next piece, you're gonna see the dramatic shift that I had just within a year style-wise. This was Rodimus at the end of 2021 or either the start of 2022. Again, I think this piece is one of the best for like showing how much my style changed. Again, I think I'm highlighting still a little too much here. It's very like eyesore highlighting, but like, oh my god, my shape work got so much better at this point. Just wow, that actually looks like Rodimus. The silhouette is also pretty strong. I still really love this piece to this day. I actually made this particular piece for my old commission sheet that I used back then. And yeah, I just still really love this piece. I really actually need to get back into drawing Rodimus again. I would love to kind of redraw him again to like compare this plus the past piece just to see where my style has taken itself once again. So this was the very first piece I drew for Megop Week back in, I think I have the date wrong on that because I'm so sure this was for Megop Week 2022. But this piece was actually based on a Optimus piece that was going around back in the fandom in 2022, specifically based on this picture here. Now, I believe the actual context to this piece is that it was for an ad for like toothpaste or something like that. So this just kind of took off, of course, in the Transformers fandom. So I had to do my own little homage to it, of course. Megop fucking centric. Come light my darkest hour, Megatron. I think one of my favorite bits is that I like taped the rose to his faceplate. This is actually still one of my favorite pieces to date. This was again for Megop Week 2022. I still really love this piece. It's just cute. I like the little pre-war guys getting to hang out. Oh my god. Again for Megop Week 2022. I don't remember what the prompts were for these. I think this was like obsession or betrayal or something was the prompt for this one. So I had to do Shattered Glass Megop. I love Shattered Glass, by the way. I also wanted to like try and like push myself a little with this piece. So I tried doing some perspective. Whether or not that was successful, oh well. But as you can see, like all of these are like sketches for the most part, simply because I know I'm not that super fast with art and I actually wanted to be able to like get these out every day for the week of Megop Week. So I didn't really do any like lined pieces. I just kept it all kind of like sketchy and stuff for the most part. The fourth piece for Megop Week, I think this prompt was like either spark or darkness. I just really like the ambiance of this piece. I think this one came out like so freaking cutely. I really love it. I think this is also a really good example of how like my shapes have improved over time, even though this is like a simplistic way to do Megatron's helm. You could even see on like Optimus's helms here and even on like the shoulder bits, I've gotten a lot more confident in understanding like the shapes of these characters. And I've actually been like drawing them more and practicing. I believe this is the second to last piece that I did for Megop Week 2022. And a little detail that no one I think ever picked up on or said anything about anyways on this piece is that this star up here in the corner is meant to represent Optimus. Now, spoilers in case you haven't seen the Predacons Rising TFP movie, but this is meant to be like a piece for like post Predacons Rising when Megatron has kind of gone off to do his own thing after he's kind of like reformed himself and everything and after Optimus has died. So I like to imagine like this is just like Optimus looking over him because it's got like the red with the blue and he's looking over Megatron and I'm actually very normal about them, Your Honor. I also just really love doing like galaxies like this. I need to actually like start doing shit like this again because I think this is so pretty. I love doing galaxies like this. All right, so this is the last piece that I did for Megop Week in 2022, and this was actually a full-scale comic that I did because I decided to really push myself. I really actually want to get back into doing more comics like this. I don't do them often simply because, well, as any creative and artist will know, comics are freaking difficult. And what I struggle with most is like layout and like composition, as in like figuring out like the paneling and everything and how something should flow on a page. Still to this day, I struggle a lot with it, but I do truly want to make more comics. But this particular piece I was so freaking proud of. This is particularly inspired by / is an ode to Chaos Theory, again, one of my favorite comics from the IDW days of Transformers. And I'm really happy that a lot of people actually really loved this comic. This was very well loved on places like Tumblr. And I'm just happy all the work that went into this comic kinda, you know, again, reflected its experience out in the wider world. And again, you can tell that I'm so much more confident at this point, like drawing Mecha and everything. The shapes are just so much stronger, while my shape work, again, has still improved from this time compared to what my early like 2021 art was with Mecha. Like, this looks massively better, even if it is like more simplified in certain areas, like here. Hey, you remember that world design? I did draw him again back in 2022. I actually still really love this sketch. I have never been able to draw this bitch like that ever again. I just really love kind of this like almost emo-esque messy like hairstyle that I like have for him. Again, I really want to expand on this design more. I just really freaking love it. I think it looks so cool. But again, even in this kind of like messy sketch, you can really see the improvement from this since this. I think this is a decent example of how I've like gotten with like muscle definition even, and I wouldn't say like this is ultra muscular, but you can tell the shapes are a lot stronger. I've kind of like exaggerated the shapes more and like kind of made them fit into something that's like my own, I guess. I'm not quite sure how to explain it. And here we have it, my Pride Makeup Doodle for 2022. I gave them these cute little rainbow capes as like there's a specific panel or something where Megatron and Optimus are wearing these like capes, these like purple capes. And I don't know what it's from, but I really wanted to like mimic that in this doodle because I thought it would be so cute to give them like rainbow capes. Oh my gosh. And again, you have the same flags for them. Oh, I love them. So I made this piece, I think, after I had finished reading the Shattered Glass comics that were out at the time. I really love Starscream for those comics, but I just love Starscream in general, so that's not like a big whoop or anything. This, I think I was actually trying something different with my shading. I was doing something cell shaded and then like adding more depth within those shadows, which I think this actually turned out really nice. I need to like try shading like this more often. This was also, I think, at the time like me trying to like stylize things and simplify things a little more. Also trying out perspective. Yeah, I was just trying out a lot of things with this piece and I think it looks really cute still. Oh, my human form is Rodimus. I love him so much. This was actually my profile pic, I think, for like at least a year or two after I made this. And as you can see, my line art has also gotten like so much thicker from where it was at like the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. My line art has gotten so much thicker, again, from those comic influences from IDW2 and even like reading the rest of the IDW comics, rereading MTMTE, reading Lost Light, where, you know, it has that very like comic-y line art. Lines are a lot thicker, rather than what my anime origins were, where I was always trying to like replicate really thin frickin' line art. I will say from this point on, while I still like thick line art and I like how it looks, I have started thinning my line art back out again. I think that's just kind of been happening naturally, but it's still like thicker than what my kind of anime looking line art used to be. And I think that's just because from doing thicker like line art like this, again, where you kind of accentuate these points where like shadow would be and everything, it really taught me how to accentuate like shapes and proportions in order to make the actual like silhouette of a work stronger. I hope any of that makes like any sense. So now I don't really have to rely so much on having like a thicker line art in order to make up for my mistakes, because my overall shape work and everything is a lot stronger. So I can kind of start thinning my line art out again and everything still kind of looks decent. But I still really love this piece. I think this is like the piece that best shows off what my style became. And I also just really like how I drew his face. The hand also looks really good. I'm pretty sure I referenced that with like my own hand. And my human former's Rodimus also has not changed much from this design. He still looks pretty much exactly like that. I love this hairstyle. I've also wanted this like specific hairstyle for like so freaking long. This is like my dream haircut, other than like the really like stereotypical emo scene haircut that fucking everyone had in the 2000s. Oh, and this is another piece that really, really shows my artistic progress as well, because this was a piece that I made for the Transformers Big Bang in 2022. Oh my god, this piece, not lying, took me months to work on. This was genuinely a gigantic piece for me. I don't think I've ever made a piece this big since. This piece also freaking would take forever to save on my computer once I like got down to like rendering and coloring it and everything. It took so long. It was such a huge file size. But just for reference, if you don't know what a big bang is, a big bang is when authors and artists come together to create stories for whatever like fandom specific big bang that this is. For example, like the Transformers Big Bang. So authors would be creating fan fictions for this big bang, and they would be paired with artists who would make artworks based on the fan fiction that the authors make. And this piece was based off my author's fic that I got paired up with, Rest Easy by Largish Cat on AO3. It is such an amazing fan fiction. Oh my god. Highly recommend you give it a read. Please be aware it is rated E for explicit, so it has things like smut and also gore and violence. But it's such a good fic, and it's such like kind of this like slow burn epic feeling fic centered around Ratchet and Deadlock. The story was Ratchet joins the Decepticons in this story instead of Ratchet joining the Autobots during wartime. So it's just kind of following his time in the Decepticons as well as the relationship that him and Deadlock form over time during the war. And it feels like such an epic little story, so I had to do like a really epic fitting piece for it to like kind of represent certain moments in the fic, kind of when they first meet, to Deadlock helping Ratchet get like medical supplies at one point in the fic, towards the very end of the fic where bad shit happens, bad shit happens, but they end up together in the end, and oh my god, they're in love. But yeah, there was so much detail that went into this freaking piece. I'm still very, very proud of this piece, and I'm really happy that I pushed myself, because I still like this piece. And again, I think it also just really well shows off my skill that I did push myself. I tried different things with like the rendering and the shading and everything, so it all looks very like nice, almost painterly, very sleek. This is such a good example of like what my skill became. Okay, so this is a very important piece for me. While I don't think it's one of my best pieces that I've ever made, this particular piece is very important to me because this was back when Transformers Earthspark had just come out, and we just like had the kind of reveal of Nightshade, who, if you don't know who Nightshade is our first non-binary Transformer within the Transformers franchise ever. So not only is this kind of like an important piece for like what it represents, but this piece is particularly important to me because this piece actually was noticed by the voice actor for Nightshade, Zian Fonte, and they actually came to me a few months back I think when it was TFCon Chicago or something was happening and they were attending. So they asked if they could sell my piece and sign it at the con, which, oh my god, which yes, I did in fact have a whole freak out about it. I had such a huge freak out about it, and before you ask, yes, I was paid for this, yes, they had my permission, and just it's such a huge honor that this piece like means so much to somebody out there, especially like the voice actor themselves. Just oh my god. So yeah, this is a very important piece, not just like for my artistic progress, but just like somebody bought my art and then the voice actor signed it. Oh my god. So yeah, I'm just still blown away by that to this day. Oh, this was really cool. This was a commission of a Transformers OC, I think a Bayverse OC. This, I think, was like a Prime character that this person had. This character was just genuinely such a cool character design, and I had a lot of fun drawing this. I think this still looks pretty good to this day. Oh, I've also forgot to note that you can tell that I'm not really relying on the soft airbrush much anymore to like highlight my stuff. I'm much stronger with like cell shading, all of that. Some of it still does look very busy, although I think that's kind of just the nature of this kind of like highlighting style. Though I have been trying to find workarounds to make things look less busy while still trying to like keep this kind of cell shaded like shading and like highlighting technique. But I think in my 2022 art you can really tell that I'm kind of struggling with finding that balance between is this too busy and is this shiny enough kind of thing. Again, because I like metal to look shiny because they're robots. And here's the piece that I was talking about earlier. So again, like I said, this was in my very first YouTube video, the speed paint for this piece. I made this actually for my birthday, I think in probably 2022. This is either 2022 or 2023. I think this is 2022. Actually, no, this might be 2023 because I genuinely don't remember. It's somewhere in and around there. But yeah, I kind of always try and make like a little Beauty and the Beast Mega post for my like birthday because I like doing it. It's my little guilty pleasure. I love Mega, I love Beauty and the Beast. So this is just like fandom at its finest. I would love to redraw this eventually. I still really like this piece. I think it's cute. Oh, I also tried to make Megatron look a little like a Predacon because I don't know, in my head, in order to make Megatron like more beastly while still keeping them kind of like mecha based, I thought like, oh, he could be like cursed as a Predacon. However, another version I've been thinking of, which I might play around with later on, is maybe making him into like the kind of like zombie-esque Transformers that I forget what they're called, but you know that episode where like Knockout and Starscream have to run from the rabid Viacon. I did think about making him possibly look like that in the future because I think that would be really cool, and it would also make him look even more beastly than something like a Predacon would. But yeah, I'll have to play around with that later. Anyways, can you tell I think about this a lot? This was a commission for one of my mutuals, Night, over on Instagram and other places. Again, you can really tell the progress that I have made from one of the first times I drew Rung, which was all the way back here. Look at those shapes here versus what it is now. You can tell my faces have gotten a lot more diverse as well. I think Alex Milne's style especially has had a big like influence on me and how I draw faces as well, because the nose is very similar. I love looking at my progress, man. I'm just like, wow, I made that. Holy shit. I draw better than this even now. Oh my god, the 2023 Pride Mega piece again. Yippee! Your Honor, can you blame me? I love them. This was a commission again for my mutual Knight and his OC. I don't remember this OC's name, but I really, really love this piece. I found some really cool cloud brushes for Clip Studio Paint at the time, and I really wanted to try them out. So I thought it would be really cool to draw the Seeker kind of flying in the air with all these cool clouds around. I haven't actually, I think, been able to find cloud brushes like this for Procreate, which is a little sad because these are genuinely so freaking cool. But I also just really like the colors of this piece. This OC had very, very dark, like browny, reddy maroon colors, and it pops out really nicely with like all the blue around. It just looks really nice. Again, I think it's like just really cool to see where like my art came, and that the posing, my posing has become so much stronger, my proportions have become so much stronger. I'm able to like interpret like OC references also a lot more strongly now, and able to fill in gaps when the style for like an OC's reference is like so much different from my own, and able to like stylize it into something that is my own. But yeah, I really, really like this piece. This is still one of my favorite commissions, I think, to date. All right, so now I think we're right at the end of 2023, getting into 2024 me's art. This was a piece that I did for the Transformers Secret Solenoid in probably 2023. Yeah, my giftee wanted a little Thunder Rod piece, and I really love how this came out. They wanted like a little Christmas themed Thunder Rod piece. I was trying something new with the shading. I wanted to try something that looked a little more reflective and a little softer from what the cell shading I was doing, and I think this came out really, really well. I love how like bright the colors are, though I do think what I was trying to do with like making like reflective soft shading looks a little more like disco lights. This is one of the pieces that I'm like most proud of to this day. Look at that mistletoe, it looks so pretty. You can also tell I was trying a thinner line art style. Again, I have kind of been doing thinner line art more as of recently, simply because like, you know, my shape work has gotten so much better. I don't have to rely on that thick line art to try and hide like my mistakes anymore. I've gotten confident enough with drawing Transformers in order to do this thin line art again, like what I was doing at the beginning in like mid 2021. I also really just love how the shading on Thunderclash's face worked out here. It just looks so nice. I love when artists do the slight highlights on like the eye bags with the like wrinkle underneath having that like natural shadow. Now this is kind of comic-esque. I did this for one of my mutuals, Draw This in Your Style. This was for Avoid Ghosts DTIYS, I believe, and they drew their versions of like Deadlock Ratchet and Hot Rod, which I love their like Hot Rod, like Ratchlock art so much. And I just think the composition of this piece looks so nice. Again, I wanted to try something like different with it, like really fuddle around with like placement and everything. And again, I like to like infuse humor and stuff when I can, because I think it just makes a piece more interesting. Like, you know, if people laugh at it, they're gonna like remember it and everything. I just think this is cute. I don't think this is one of my best pieces, but I am really happy with how the composition came out. And this is how you definitely know that we are on to 2024, because this was my mega pride piece for 2024. Hope you like the booty shorts. I really eventually, maybe this year, want to do like an actual fully lined, like rendered piece for Pride Month this year, and at the same time I kind of would just want to keep it doodles because they're easy for me to do. Either way, I'll just be making silly mega pride stuff. It's always fun. I also did Art Fight in 2024, which I'm very much looking forward to doing it again this year in 2025. So I did draw one or two Mecha. This is one of my mutuals characters. I forget their name, but this is from Smokedipus over on places like Instagram. And this is from an artist who I've followed for a few years now, Peppymint. I really love this OC because they just look so freaking gothic. It's so pretty. I didn't draw too many Mecha for Art Fight because back when I drew these, I was like just getting out of my BG3 hyperfixation. So I didn't really want to be drawing Mecha. I was kind of at that point where I was like, this is too complicated and they're hard to draw. So this was good practice to like get back into the swing of drawing Mecha again. I also just really like how the colors came out on this one, and I really love how the eyes came out. They're so ooh. Oh, I almost forgot this one. This was for my mutual Laura Chan, and this is their Transformers OC. I forget their name. I'll put it on screen. I did use a reference picture for this pose. I'll put it here if I can find it again. But I really like how this came out. I love how sparkly everything looks, because the character that Laura gave me is like this very sparkly, like I think sports car. So I had to do something really cute and sparkly. I just like how this came out. Again, I think like these Art Fight photos are such a good example at how far my style has come, and like being able to again stylize something into my own style, make it my own. And I can't wait to draw more Mecha for Art Fight this year, especially get some Mecha art myself, because I will have my Transformers OC up on Art Fight this year, which I'm so excited for. Please draw my girl. Oh, so this was a little like head design as well as a few other, oops, I have to do it that way because you can't see it otherwise, but this was some line work that I made for the Transform and Go Out With Me zine. The Transform and Go Out With Me zine is a Transformers themed zine, obviously, based around visual novels and dating sims. So everyone made an artistic piece or a piece of writing or merch based around a fictional Transformers themed visual novel. So for example, my piece, as you've kind of seen here, is TFA Ratchet themed. I imagined that it was kind of this medical themed visual novel where you and Ratchet are co-workers working in the same hospital. And you know, things start going, you bond and everything, and then you're eventually dating. Oh my god. I really wanted to make that because I love this old man so much. And there's also like not a shit ton of like TFA Ratchet-centric stuff out there, so I have to be the provider of my own content, you know? Be the change you want to see in the world. This particular head and like hand and other like head pieces were for my merch designs for the zines, which was a weekly planner and to-do list. So I thought it would be really fitting to do something that's like, oh, just a simplistic kind of health medical based thing, like a weekly planner and to-do list, mood tracker, that sort of thing. Especially because people love their stationery nowadays. And I personally have been wanting some like cute Transformers themed stationery, so that was like the perfect kind of route to go down, and people actually really liked it as well, which I'm really happy with. This is how the weekly planners and the mood tracker came out. I made two different versions because I couldn't decide whether I wanted something that's a little more cold medical blue or something that's like really cutesy pink. So I went with both. I really liked both, and I'm super happy with how these came out. And also, not to like promote myself here, but these are up on my Ko-fi for free, by the way. They are completely free. You do not have to pay for them if you don't want to. But if you want some cute, like either TFA Ratchet themed, like stationery, or Transformers themed stationery, absolutely go and check that out on my Ko-fi. Link is in the description or like on the screen, I guess. Now this was my main piece for the Transform and Go Out With Me zine. I'm not super duper proud of it. I think like it's because all of the blue in the background just melds a little too much together, and then it looks kind of weird with like this pink text block here. Not the piece I'm proudest of, but I am really glad that I tried it out and did it, and you know, pushed myself to actually just kind of work on a background even if it doesn't look great. Backgrounds are not my strong suit, but I did it and I'm proud of myself. This zine, I believe, is up for free download online. I believe it's a free PDF. Definitely go check it out if you want. And then I also made a Human Formers Roddy at the same time. This is kind of a redo of that original picture that was like my profile picture that I told you all about. He's kept the same hair because I'm normal about that. I did forget his freckles though, which I will have to fix that at some point. Peep the sleigh shoes though. And I of course kept his sleeve tat because I love that tattoo so freaking much. Again, I really want that tattoo. It's also really interesting to see how stylized my like human forms have come from this all the way from originally this shit. I'm just so proud of myself because I know little me is like looking up to me like, oh, this is so cool, holy crap, and you draw mechs now? That's so cool. Again, I'm just really proud of how far I've come. Alright, so I'm quickly going to zoom through all of the pieces I did for Inktober, but I did do Inktober last year. It had been the first time I had participated in Inktober in quite a few years. I don't think I had done Inktober since like 2017, I think. And this was also, I think, like the first year that I fully completed Inktober. And I went off my own list, so the theme was ships I don't draw enough, which of course had a crap ton of Transformers ships, as you shall see. This is Megarod, one of my OG favorite ships. We've got Megastar, which was my very first Transformers ship ever, even before Megop, which I know might be surprising for some people to hear from me. We've got Dupe, Dinobot, and Optimus Primal. We've got Mega Sound, Shock Blur. This is my personal fave little rare pair, Thundercracker and Ratchet. I know it might be hard to tell, but this is Thundercracker. This particular piece was based off a fan fiction by, I believe it's Rosebud09 or something like that. It's so good. It's basically a Ratchet X everyone fic. MTMTE spoilers for the next pick. Here's the timestamp here in case you want to skip. We've got more Human Formers stuff. This was for Simpatico because I absolutely love Simpatico. We've got Grimby. I love them. This is, oh my god, this is my little poly ship, my little multi-ship of, okay, let's see if I can remember the ship name. Starblade B Fire. That's it. Because I love Starscream with all three of these characters, but like, why not all three of them at the same time? Why can't they just be a cute little poly unit? Because Starscream deserves to have many partners. Yeah, these are like, oh my god, this is like, other than Megop, I love these four so freaking much. Tara Prowl, my toxic yaoi. My other multi-ship, Megoplita. I love Megoplita. Oh my god, Alita deserves two beautiful wives. We got our gorgeous Cobbed. This was based off of the panel from Wreckers, Treads, and Circuits. We've got Starjack, Sound Rod, and for those who are within this particular niche, yes, I am working my way through Echo Garden. We got Star Rod, which is one of my personal little faves. They both have egos. It's why they fit. Dratchet, Thunder Rod once again, and then these are the pieces that I did for Megop. I just wanted to do something simple for them, but I did want to like actually try using more like negative space with all like the black lines and everything, and I'm really proud of how these came out. Jet Bite, I love these two so freaking much. My gals, my girls, Road Rage and Nautica. Cygate Whirl, another little multi-ship that I love. Now this is a very niche little rare pair that I actually very much got into due to the artist Natsuka, who's drawn some Nutmeg art in the past. Absolutely go look at their profile. Their art is gorgeous. So I had to put this little rare pair here. I love them so dearly. Human Formers, of course. And last but not least, we have Prowl Stater, aka Prowl and the Constructicons. That wasn't absolutely all of the Inktober stuff, because I did do some ships that weren't Transformers based, but as you can tell, a majority of them were. And I'm really happy with how a majority of these came out. I really pushed myself, and absolutely my wrist was in hell hell for the next month. It fucked me up so bad. But I'm really happy that I pushed myself to actually like finish my Inktober stuff and just also push myself to do something that I just love to do, which is drawing. I love it. I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't an artist. Another Human Formless design. This is IDW Megatron, my redo of him. Oh my god, I love how this design came out so much. It's definitely more refined and looks just so much better than the original 2021 design. Oh my god, he looks even older. Holy shit. I love old men. Holy crap. But this is actually based off of my cosplay for him, which I actually need to redo. I've just been trying to look for like a jacket that suits it. But yeah, I'm so proud of this new design so much. Like, I'm getting to a point where I can actually do the designs I see in my head justice because I have like enough skill to do that now. Another commission. This was a Whirl Rung piece that I did, I think, for my Christmas commissions. The commissioner bought this as a gift, I think, for like their partner or friend, and I really like how this came out. I'm so much more confident with my colors, and my colors have gotten so much more saturated over the years. I love how this looks. I think my line art also helps as well. The brush I used to use back for my art in like 2022 2023 era used to be kind of textured. It's a little difficult to tell simply because this was a really big canvas, but the brush I used to use was textured, whereas now I tend to lean towards the Studio Pen on Procreate, which is a much smoother brush, which gets me these really clean lines. But now I've kind of kept something that's still somewhat thick but not ultra fucking thin, and especially since my shape and proportion work has gotten so much better, it allows me again to use that thinner line art to my advantage. And also playing around with patterns in the background. I've been trying to play around with patterns more in the background because I think it adds such a lovely texture to pieces, but I'm also a lazy artist who doesn't like doing a lot of work, so I try and find like a lot of default brushes that already have patterns built into them that I can just go over the canvas with. Work smarter, not harder. Oh, you know what? I'm also missing another, I think, 2022-2023 piece. Let me go find it. So this is another zine piece I actually forgot about. Again, I made this in like 2022-2023, and this was for the Slice of Cybertron zine, which was kind of like a domestic, like exploring like domestic Cybertronian life zine, like how all the characters would have just lived their day-to-day lives sort of thing. And of course I had to make it subtly meg up. And it was another experiment with background. I wanted to do something where they're like maybe in the archives or at a library together, just sitting, reading, talking politics, talking shit. A little detail in the background. This kind of fence thing here has the symbol of the Matrix, because I can't help but put Matrix motifs wherever I can. Also, little error that I completely frickin' miffed up. Megatron's eyes are not meant to be red because this is his Megatronus days, and he had blue eyes canonically in his Megatronus days, so oops. It was too late to change it once somebody had pointed it out to me. I always tend to do that on some pieces. I always tend to like make little mistakes like that, which is fine because they're like little mistakes. It's not gonna hurt the overall piece all that much, but it is annoying. I'm gonna know it's there. I also really like how the rendering came out on this. It's nothing too harsh as far as highlighting because most of the light is like coming from here, and they're also blocked by the bookcase here, so it relies much more on like shadow work and everything. I just really like how this came out. This is still one of my favorite pieces to this day. We're getting towards some of the very last pieces that I've made so far. I haven't showed absolutely all of my artwork here, but this has been like a very large chunk of it, or at least everything that I have something to say about anyways. This was a piece I made for the 2024 Secret Solenoid. My giftee wanted Beast Wars Black Arachnia, and I really just love how this came out. Again, I'm kind of playing with textures in the background. I found a little like spider web brush that was really cool, and I put those back around her. I also really love how like the highlights and the shading all came out. It looks very sleek and nice, and it's not too busy. Like I'm kind of finally getting to that point with my art where highlights aren't overtaking the piece and making things like an eyesore to look at. I'm trying to finally find like a good balance between what is enough highlight and what is like too much, or like do I need to work more on my shading? Do I need to work more on where the light's actually coming from, etc. I think this is like one of my favorite pieces to date. I just really love the composition of it. So this this was the piece I was talking about when I said that I wanted to do like more like galaxies and like star stuff. This is a piece I made based on my favorite fan fiction of all time, which you will have heard me talking about earlier and or in any of my other YouTube videos, because I always find a way to bring it up because I love this fan fiction so much. Definitely go read it if you want to. But this piece was based on the fan fiction Victory Condition by, again, my favorite Transformers author, Ostolot. That fan fiction literally changed my life. I would actually love to make a video on it, but I'm kind of like going back and forth with myself of like, should I even make a video about fan fiction? Because I don't know whether like the author would like approve of that, whether that's like putting fandom out into like the general audience too much, and whether we should just keep it to fandom spaces. I don't know. Anyways, I'm having a whole dilemma about it, and I'll decide at some point. But this is from one of my favorite scenes in Victory Condition. Oh my god, the scene this is based off, again, if you go and read it, is stunning, and this is like kind of a version of how I see that scene. I also just wanted to do some rainbow kind of aurora borealis style lights, and then you've got the little Megatron and Optimus in the corner. I'm actually really happy with how these guys came out because I don't usually do lineless work, kind of this like silhouette heavy work. I tend to use line art a lot as a crutch in order to push my silhouettes and actually make them readable. So doing lineless work is really, really difficult for me because I have to constantly think about, okay, is it readable from this distance and even from up close, about whether like, do they look like they're running? But I'm really, really happy with how this came out. This is just so gorgeous. I'm going to actually be using this as a cover for when I bookbind the fan fiction, which I've been working on kind of in the background here and there. I also might make a video for that as well, just documenting my process, documenting like what that's been like, maybe even kind of ish a tutorial. Probably won't be a tutorial because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But yeah, this is eventually going to be the cover when I get that all printed out and everything. It's gonna take so much ink, oh my god. But I'm so happy that I made this. I think this is actually another one of my pieces that's one of my faves to date. I just really love the overall vibe of this. It's so pretty. I think it's the rainbows. Y'all remember this piece? Y'all remember this piece? Ta-da! Plus, extra screenshot. Oh my god. I really, really love how this redraw came out. So like I said, I try to do a little Megop theme Beauty and the Beast post every year for my birthday, and I'm really, really happy with how this came out. This is kind of just another testament to where my styles come from this shit to this. In the original, I tried to actually make it suit my own style, but I think just because of my like amateurity with like shading and highlighting, it didn't really turn out looking that great. Whereas this looks so much better because I actually tried to kind of imitate just a smidge the Disney style. I did try and keep the actual like proportions and shapes to my own style, but things like the coloring and like the line art and the shading and stuff is all in a somewhat Disney-esque style. And I just really like how it came out. I think Megatron looks so freaking doofy here. Oh, I love him so much. Do not ask me what the back of the helm was. This was a nightmare to draw. There are barely any references of Transformers with the backs of their helms showing. And yes, the dress is in fact a reference to Bay vs. Optimus. I just love them so much, Your Honor. I love them so much. Now, y'all remember that TFA Shockwave design? Y'all remember? Ta-da! This has been my latest drawing of him. I just recently drew this up, and I wanted to do kind of an elevated version of that design because there's a lot from that design that I still really like. It's very like alternative. It's giving like evil mad scientist sanitarium. So I didn't really change too much. I'm just able, I think, to stylize it better than what I originally did. Like his hair looks so much better. Oh my lord. I've gotten like not necessarily more detailed, just better at portraying like how I see it in my head, I guess. I also kind of experimented with the rendering on this. I've got kind of this bounce light coming from this like red light beneath, so he's got some like red lights coming here. And again, as you can see, I'm starting to get a lot more tactical with how I use my highlights. Again, not to like overwhelm a piece with highlights. I'm trying to actually think about where light would be, how it would bounce off the frame. I've found actually that it's so much easier for me to render and highlight things like metal because I kind of understand somewhat / can use metal as a crutch to be like, oh, the highlight would totally work like that because it's shiny, duh. Whereas with things like skin or clothing materials, it's a lot more difficult for me because I'm like, I don't know how light interacts with those objects, oh god. So again, it's me having to learn to be a little more crafty with how that like works and everything, with this like blue light coming in here and the red light coming from down under, which you can see on the edges of his body here, and even bouncing off the belts and some of these pieces. But I really like how this piece came out. I think this is pretty good, and I'm so glad that I was finally able to do that design justice, because it generally was I think a really good design. The only thing I think I majorly changed was kind of the little half skirt thing that he had going on. I instead opened that up so you could see more of the bodysuit and like the thighs underneath in order to mimic the thighs that TFA Shockers kind of has. But yeah, very, very happy with this. And again, playing with more of like shapes and textures in the background. Did it work? Don't think it's some of my strongest work, but it looks. All right, this next piece is the very last one and the most recent piece I have done as of the time of recording this. Remember how I said I was making a Transformers OC? Well, guess what? Here she is. Oh my god. So this is Brute Force, my ex-Wrecker Decepticon monster truck girly. I love her so dearly. I very much made her with the intention that she was supposed to be like kind of this do-over of what Nucleus was, to show that I actually can design a mecha that does actually genuinely look like a mecha and not somebody who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. I'll put a picture of her alt mode on screen here, but I was specifically referencing this monster truck with the flames on it and everything, which is why you can see all the flames on her like shoulder bits and her arms and her legs here. I also really love how her helm design came out. Specifically, what really helped me with this design, because TFOC design isn't really my strong suit. Transformers designing is really difficult for me because I still have a lot of trouble, in spite that I have like improved a lot with translating shapes and stuff. Designing a Transformers OC is something else entirely when I don't have like a reference to work from. So it's difficult for me to figure out shapes that kind of make sense with what a Transformers alt mode is and also what they look like within like the canon media they're from. For example, Brute Force is supposed to be from the Transformers Prime universe, which is why she doesn't have a nose. But there was a particular Transformers pit crew creator that really helped me with kind of finding a base to go off of. I'll put the pictures here of what she looked like in the pit crew while I was designing her. And so I kind of used that as like a base and then worked from there based off the alt mode that I found for her. And I'm just so proud of myself. I don't think some of the shapes still make much sense. Like her arms here are kind of just like guesswork, but that's okay. Honestly, I can just put it up to, it's a stylistic choice. It's just how my style works. I simplify shapes, which is fine because that is true. I do stylize shapes. I do like making things a lot more simplistic than they are within like, especially with the TFP designs. The TFP designs are so complicated. I mean, that's Transformers designs in general, really. Again, this entire video has just been, mecha are hard to draw. They're so hard to draw. But yeah, I'm so happy with her. I love how her color scheme came out. It's so perfect. I love her face here. I love her evil little sneer. I like how the eyes came out especially. I think those look so good. But yeah, that's everything from 2019 all the way to today in 2025. And again, this hasn't been all of my art. There have been like other fandoms that I've been in, like ATSV, Good Omens, and BG3, which I also drew art for during this time. So it wasn't just Transformers stuff that I've been working on for the past 5 years, but that's definitely been a majority of it. And all of that has come together to make what my art is today and how I draw mecha, how I draw Transformers. And again, I'm just so happy to see like what my progress has been through the years. It's truly been like crazy development. And I'm just so proud of myself, and I'm so proud of knowing that little me would be so happy to see all this, no matter how down I get about like my skill set or about how good something is turning out nowadays. But I hope y'all enjoyed me rambling about my art, seeing some of my art. I hope it wasn't anything too boring. Hopefully you maybe put this on in the background while you were doing something else. I love y'all. I do the same thing. But if you would like to see any more of my art or other YouTube creative content, absolutely feel free to give me a follow on all my other social media platforms and subscribe to this channel below for more arty and especially Transformers themed content. I hope y'all are having a good day, and remember, if not, I'm sending you spoons. Bye!